2 days ago, the Wall Street Journal, there was 3 journalists got together and they've been researching this story about what Bobby Kotick knew in regards to the sexual misconduct and discrimination lawsuits and kind of investigations that have been railing Activision Blizzard for the last, I don't even know how long it's been. Months, though, certainly. I think, was it July or August or something like that? It's certainly been going on for a while. And these things are slow moving and also important, really important journalism being done, like in this article, to uncover what people actually knew. And so there's internal documents that have been looked at and sources from inside the board of directors as well, along with other workplace sources too. So first of all, the first thing that I wanted to discuss was the Reddit thread about it too, because what I found important in cases like this, where it's about holding people accountable, the worst thing you can do is be apathetic about it, right? And apathy is tied incredibly closely to cynicism, I think. If you're just cynical about everything and everyone, you don't really care because you don't feel like there's a fix that's possible. And what I saw, I've hidden a lot of what I consider to be irrelevant comments to my take, but there are so many just like surprise Pikachu face. Yeah, obviously. What, you mean to tell me Bobby Kotick's cartoonishly bad? I, for one, am shocked. Where people are just reading the headline that Bobby Kotick, the CEO, knew for years about the allegations within Activision Blizzard, and they're like, well, of course he did. He was at the top. But while the headline itself might seem to be a little obvious, what's actually contained in the article really important changing facts and what I mean by changing is they alter the way that you think about how the company has been dealing with these things in the past and how high up the chain people knew about it. A lot of people don't understand, I think, how big corporations like this work and how easily stuff could get buried at the middle management kind of position. You can have an abusive middle management, but they're scared of being found out by the people above them because they think the people above them will actually punish them for it. Or you can have a completely corrupt system that goes all the way up to the top where people are just covering for people below them constantly the whole way down. And that does make a big difference in terms of how you solve that kind of situation. Rather than just like kicking out a bunch of bad apples at the bottom end, you might need to do structural change all the way through the company, which is what the Activision Blizzard workers were pushing for even before this came out. And frankly, people were calling for Bobby Kotick's head before this as well, because part of being a CEO is that you get paid an enormous amount of money to sometimes fall on your sword when these kind of things happen, even if you didn't know about them. That's part of the responsibility of being the head of the entire organization, is that you are, in the end, fundamentally responsible and accountable for what goes on inside your company, because you can dictate, you have the power to be able to dictate these things, and you are supposed to be able to look out for the warning signs of this and quash it early on. So this Reddit thread, for starters, made me disappointed in the response, because the response at the beginning when these things originally come out. Okay, Furious Hammer, thank you for the tier 3, appreciate that, but also I'm now screaming in my own ear, so that's a little bit disruptive, but thank you very much for the tier 3 for 31 months. Okay, so what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so the initial response to things like this is obvious outrage at the beginning, right? A lot of people thought Blizzard, especially, but Activision as a whole, is this, mecca of esports space, this open, inclusive area. Oh, I really want to work for Blizzard, and people hold it up on a pedestal because they love the games and they love the culture inside of the games and that kind of stuff. And actually, when you pull back the curtain, oh, this place is fucked up. It causes outrage, shock, surprise, all of those kind of emotions. And you feel sorry for the people who are working there and outraged that this could have been even allowed to happen. All of those kind of emotional responses. But then as things go over time, normally people just either become deadened to it or they give up caring because it's not as much of a shock to them again. And I feel like it's very important to continue talking about it and continue remembering just how appalling these kind of things are and how deep it goes. One of these also, this comment here where it's like, talking about the board of directors and hopefully Bobby Kotick will be outed from the company because he might be in trouble now with the SEC as well. And just the response is like, oh, well, Bobby's a director on Coca-Cola. The league might be doomed now if it has no Coca-Cola. Like, who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares if Coca-Cola disappears? It's Activision Blizzard employees are getting absolutely destroyed for years. Like, there's way more important things on the line here, and I feel like people have utterly lost perspective as things go on. For instance, here again, just cynicism ruining the idea of there being any better way than the status quo. Anyway, that pissed me off for a bit, but let's read the actual article itself. So it was hidden behind a paywall, which I've paid for here, and if you weren't able to get behind this paywall for whatever reason, people had copied and posted it into the Reddit comments anyway, so you would have been able to take a look at this. So some of the important parts of this article that I want to point out for you, because it starts off talking about Sledgehammer Games and a lawyer getting in touch with Activision Blizzard and alleging that her client had been raped in 2016 and 2017 by a male supervisor after she had been pressured to consume too much alcohol in the office and at work events. Now, 2016 to 2017 is bloody recent. And so the more and more that these things are getting unveiled and the more and more these things are coming to light, the more we realize, or at least the more that I'm realizing, that these things are incredibly recent and not just shrouded in the past like the Cosby thing in 2013 when there was the whole conversation about, maybe they didn't even know that Cosby was a sexual assaulter at the time. Maybe it was just a harmless joke to do with his sweater looking like the rug. You know, those kind of things are buried enough in the past, or not enough, but buried somewhat in the past, that there can be some, cloudiness around it. And people saying, things were different back then, we've fixed things. A lot of these things that are being talked about in this article are very recent. So following on directly from this, the female employee reported the incidents, but nothing happened, so then they threatened a lawsuit. Within months of receiving the email, Activision reached an out-of-court settlement. Bobby Kotick did not inform the company's board of directors about the alleged rapes or the settlement, said people with knowledge of the board. So this is a Wall Street Journal source with knowledge of the board of directors, and they're stating here that Bobby Kotick did not inform the board of directors about scandals of this level and the settlements involved, which is a big deal. That's a big deal. So the part of the investigations into Activision Blizzard are whether things were accurately disclosed, because when these kind of things blow up in the face of the board of directors or the shareholders or whatever, they will say that, well, we could have seen this coming and either modified for it, or from a financial point of view, could have sold our shares or whatever and got out before you made the fucking company a dumpster fire by just saving it all up, and suddenly the skeletons are exploding out of the closet. So part of the reason that people thought Bobby Kotick would potentially get ousted because of this reporting and this investigation was because if you're on the bad side of the board of directors, those are like the only people that can actually remove Bobby Kotick from his position. And if they feel like they were kept in the dark about this kind of stuff, that could be a big reason for him eventually leaving. Now, the story is only just beginning here, though. So this is explaining some of the backstory as well. And crucial backstory, Bobby Kotick told directors and other executives he was not aware of many allegations of misconduct. And this is more subjective, but he has played down other allegations of misconduct, according to people familiar with the matter, and internal documents. This isn't just reporting from, sources inside the company. This is, well, I suppose an internal document is a source, but it's a written down source that is much more set, because you can tell when it was written and it's not been modified by people's understanding of events as they played out afterwards as well. So, the documents include memos, emails, regulatory requests, and interviews with former employees and others familiar with the company. And they show that he did know about allegations of employee misconduct. He didn't inform the board of directors about everything he knew, even after regulators began investigating in 2018. So even when the fucking regulators from the government knocking on your door, we've heard some fucked up shit's happening here. Bobby Kotick's like, hide the documents, fuck, not talking to the board of directors, fuck, shit. So that's madness to me, when also you consider that the board of directors have come out afterwards, and we'll talk about this in a bit, backing Bobby Kotick. The board of directors, even though they've been kept in the dark about some sizable portion of these allegations and the fucked up stuff going on in the company, are still backing the bastard. How does that happen? So that's incredibly incredibly strange to me. Perhaps not incredibly unusual because of the way these things are done in large companies. So there is an SEC investigation into how the company handled reports of misconduct and disclosed them to the public. So this is that financial aspect of it that I was talking about, where you have an obligation as a company to disclose some part of what's going on so that people can make informed decisions about whether to invest in you and that kind of stuff. So what Mr. Kotick knew about the alleged incidents and what he told other people is part of that probe. So that's where that comment on Reddit was, I think, accurate, where if you end up in trouble with the SEC and you end up in trouble with the board of directors, that would be extremely bad for Bobby Kotick. Though perhaps it's not going in that way, but it seems like it would have been. Anyway, carrying on here, where is this one? Where's the bloody... Here it is. Okay, look at this as well. Does everybody remember Francis Townsend's email that said that essentially the California allegations presented a distorted and untrue picture of our company, and California was driving big business out of the state by doing this kind of stuff? Oh, well, Bobby Kotick actually drafted that and had Francis Townsend send it to employees under her name. Cool. So obviously, Bobby Kotick is going to approve any messaging like that anyway. It's not like Francis Townsend, in a situation with as much publicity, would have the freedom to just do whatever she liked and Bobby would not look at it. Obviously, when you're that high up, there is going to be some level of oversight between Bobby and Francis Townsend. But Mr. Kotick drafted the email that he had another executive send to employees under her name. Like, you can't get any more from his mouth. And it was the most out of touch thing that the company has put out at this point. Is that even accurate, actually? Maybe it's not the most out of touch thing. They've done a bunch of other ridiculous responses to things, but that might be the most out of touch response that I've seen from Activision Blizzard throughout the entire thing. Small F. Hopefully that doesn't continue, because I am on my new internet as well. That should be a lot better. So I found that to just be quite incredible as well. So let's continue too, because let's have a look. Where were we? So so here, the board of directors was blindsided by the California lawsuit's allegations, including that an employee killed herself after a photo of her vagina allegedly was circulated at a company party, according to people familiar with the board. So again, the board of directors is not just being kept in the dark about some portion of it. The wording here is they were blindsided by the allegations, that they had no idea this level, this scale of stuff was going to be hitting Activision Blizzard. That's really, really important, that your CEO is failing to disclose this kind of stuff. And of course, Bobby Kotick's like, I'm committed to making sure we have the most welcoming, most inclusive workplace in the industry. Literally the same line every single time. Activision's board also said it had been informed at all times with the respective status of the regulatory matters. And yet sources within the company, within the board, are saying that, or rather familiar with the board, which might be an important distinction, are saying that they got absolutely blindsided by it as well. Where were we? So there was something else. Yep, here's another incredible thing as well. So Jen ONeill, who recently just left her role as Blizzard's co-head, leaving only Mike Ibarra in the head position at Blizzard. So you remember, as all of this came up, one of the things that they did to try and solve for this is that they appointed two co-heads of Blizzard, one a man, one a woman, and that was supposed to be, okay, well, there's some accountability between them. They come from very diverse backgrounds, the two of them. And so let's see what that does. That seems interesting. Both Mike Ibarra and Jen ONeill had some, maybe excitement is the wrong word. In fact, it absolutely is, but some confidence in them from their previous roles in other jobs or with the company itself. So, Jen ONeill was the first woman to lead one of the company's business units. The following month, after being put into that position, she sent an email to a member of the Activision legal team saying she had lack of faith in their leadership to turn the culture around, and said, it's clear the company would never prioritize our people the right way. You simply can't get any more damning than that, as far as I'm concerned. You've raised up one of your women employees to a position where they can make meaningful change. They interact with their environment for a month, and then they almost immediately say, nah, this shit's fucked. That's essentially what's happened here. Now, the alternative way of viewing this is possibly that Jen O'Neill only took the job in order to clown on Activision and make it a big shitstorm afterwards, in which case, fucking go Jen. But I think the more reasonable way of looking at it is she, in good faith, took the job and realized after a month it was a lost cause. So she said in the email she'd been sexually harassed earlier in her career, and that she was paid less than her male counterpart at the helm of Blizzard. Reminder that part of these investigations is for pay discrimination as well. Not just sexual harassment, but pay discrimination. That it's between male and female workers being paid differently for doing the same jobs, and then they appoint two co-heads of Blizzard and pay them different amounts. What the fuck is going on? How is that? It's ludicrous. It's, even if you're only thinking about it from a PR perspective, even if that was your only selfish, terrible reasoning for doing this, surely someone must have thought, maybe it's not a good idea to pay the woman less. You'd hope with just a shred of your brain that someone would have said that at some point. Oh my God. Once she told them she was quitting, they were like, oh wait, we were working on a new offer. Yep, yeah. Oh no, don't quit. We'll definitely pay you the same amount. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. She wrote, again, to the Activision legal team, I've been tokenized, marginalized, and discriminated against. How you can't get any more damning. I don't understand how you can get any more damning than that. She described a party in 2007 in which scantily clad women danced on stripper poles at a party that Bobby Kotick was at. The DJ encouraged female attendees to drink more so that the men would have a better time, according to another person who was present at the same party. Just incredibly appalling. How is that ever appropriate for a work scenario? Unbelievable. But again, this, because it's in 2007, is one of those where people will be like, oh, well, that was a different time. It was the early 2000s. The company's professionalized at this point. It's really developed everything. It hasn't. I mean, sure, it's not to this degree where the DJ at a public party is telling the women to drink more. Perhaps. I mean, I might be talking out my ass there, saying that it's improved. But it's indicative of the culture that was set early on. And when you set a culture like that so early and so heavily, it's almost impossible to remove it, even in like 10, 15 years. Miss Klasky said, Mr. Kotick didn't remember attending such a party. He was probably really drunk, wasn't he? Yeah. So, Jen O'Neill leaving Activision. The public side of it seemed like she was leaving it to go to a non-profit. I mean, she is leaving it to go to a non-profit organization that helps women in gaming. I think that's what it is anyway. But the reasoning behind it is not just because she wants to do something different. It's because Activision Blizzard at the top she thought was unsavable. So, yeah, Let's see. So this is just talking about Bobby Kotick in general, how he acquired Activision Blizzard, what his background was, this kind of stuff. In 2019, HR began reporting directly to the corporate office, and that was a setup to try and ensure that that things that were serious went higher up quicker, right? So that's as far as I'm reading, that's not like trying to cover anything up or anything. That's their resolution to try and make sure that things actually got dealt with and weren't just buried at the bottom across all of these smaller companies. And that was one of the changes they made in 2019. And here, Mr. Kotick approves high-profile hiring decisions and the exit and pay packages of star developers, and he is typically aware of any major problems in each of Activision's 12 development studios. So the bigger the problem, the more likely it is that Bobby Kotick is aware of it, and some of these problems were very big. So one example being Dan Bunting, the co-head of Treyarch, was accused of sexually harassing a female employee in 2017 after a night of drinking. They launched an internal investigation in 2019, 2 years later, and recommended that he be fired, the co-head of Treyarch, but Bobby Kotick himself intervened to keep him, according to sources inside the company, or sources familiar with the incident, which I suppose could be outside of the company. But anyway, Bobby Kotick personally intervened to keep this person who the HR department had recommended be fired for sexually harassing a female employee. And he was like, nah, let's just give him some counseling and let him stay at the company. Mr. Bunting then left the company after the Wall Street Journal asked about the incident. Just as a little tangent here, I don't understand how anybody can downplay the importance of journalism. Just in general, just good investigative journalism is an absolute requirement, a pillar of democracy to keep other parts in check. And it makes me mauled when people just have a dislike in general to journalism. It pisses me the fuck off. Anyway, so Bobby Kotick did not inform the email about the email accusing the Sledgehammer Games supervisor of rape. This is the one at the very beginning of the article in 2016-2017. But Activision did take action. The supervisor was fired, I believe. Where does it say that? I believe it said that somewhere. Oh, yeah. The accuser's lawyer said he also sexually harassed a second person, and Activision fired him 2 months later after an investigation. So Activision did take action in that, but Bobby Kotick did not inform the board of directors, right? So two different things going on there. One of which you could say the company acted in the right way because they investigated and... But the thing is, the company didn't even act in the right way because they reported it internally and they did jack shit. They needed to wait for an email a year or more later. We're talking 2016, 2017, and this email's in 2018, a year afterwards, threatening litigation, and that's when they fired the person. The internal stuff didn't work. The internal system to conduct this investigation didn't function. It required a lawyer getting in touch with Activision Blizzard and alleging and starting a lawsuit, which is atrocious. Oh yeah, and the Activision spokeswoman said that the female employee had not reported either incident to the company, whereas the employee says that they did tell the company, and a colleague says they did tell the company. Now, presumably there'd be some paperwork there, but I am absolutely inclined to believe the employee rather than the company, given how awful the entire situation has been and how poor they are at dealing with things when they're reported internally anyway. Where else are we? Was there other stuff? Here's just another example. Edward Rohrich, another Sledgehammer employee, had been accused of sexual harassment. There was a company party, there was heavy drinking, and he was investigated for an harassment incident, but it was unclear what exactly did and did not happen since a lot of alcohol was involved. It was stupid of me and totally uncalled for to get that drunk. And that's it. That was the sum total of what the harassment investigation came to. That's it. Just, there was a lot of alcohol involved, so who knows what happened, right? Who knows? Hey, what are you going to do? You're drunk. Unbelievable. Ms. Klasky said the company will soon ban alcohol in the office. That seems sensible. But also, I've been very drunk before. Haven't sexually harassed any of my co-workers. Funny how that works. Yeah, also soon being highlighted there, right? We'll ban it soon. Yeah. I mean, Bobby Kotick's got a party actually next week, so probably after that. Fuck you know. This is again bringing back up the $18 million settlement, which is pennies to Activision Blizzard. Absolutely nothing. And so the California regulator has challenged the settlement, saying the proposed amount is too low and the agreement is harmful to victims and its case. So, yeah, again, Activision didn't make disclosures to investors about the probe until the lawsuit became public, and disclosed the SEC probe after questions from the Journal. I mean, it's ludicrous. They're trying to hide so much of what's going on. So this is then it goes into talking about Bobby Kotick himself and his allegations of harassment in various different ways. So starting with, in 2006, one of his assistants complained that he'd harassed her, including by threatening in a voicemail to have her killed, according to people familiar with the matter. He settled it out of court. Mr. Kotick quickly apologized 16 years ago for the obvious hyperbolic and inappropriate voicemail, and he deeply regrets the exaggeration and tone in his voicemail to this day. When I was a kid, when I was like 14, 13, something like that, and my sister stole my DS or something, I might chase her around the house going, "I'm going to kill you." Obviously not an actual threat upon her life. When your boss leaves you a voicemail threatening to have you killed, I think that's far more serious. And saying obviously hyperbolic and saying that it was clearly exaggeration and ridiculous tone, that's appalling. Again, 16 years ago, 2006, if indeed this was true and he does deeply regret it, then okay, that would be a single incident. By the way, a single incident where Activision Blizzard's zero tolerance policy, if we just jump ahead a little bit, the staff recently had a conversation about this zero tolerance policy, which Bobby Kotick implemented a month ago within the company. And they said, well, does that apply to Bobby Kotick? And Activision Blizzard executives said they don't have evidence of Kotick's own alleged harassment, such as the time he's claimed to have threatened to kill a staff member. I mean, if you go back to this original thing, I mean, the spokeswoman literally just admits that he did it. He says he apologizes and regrets it, but he did it. But the zero tolerance policy doesn't apply to the CEO because they don't have the evidence. I mean, where's the voicemail? It was so long ago. Who knows, really? Who knows? Anyway, in 2007, the year after this, he was sued by a flight attendant on a private jet he co-owns. So he co-owns a private jet. The flight attendant on that private jet claims that the pilot has sexually harassed her, right? So pilot sexually harasses attendant. The attendant complains to one of the owners of the plane. And Mr. Kotick, Bobby Kotick, is the other co-owner. And Bobby Kotick fired her. The defendants denied the allegations. An arbiter, citing what he said was sworn testimony, wrote that Bobby Kotick told the flight attendant and her attorneys, "I'm going to destroy you." A spokesman for Mr. Kotick denied he said that. Sworn testimony. "I'm going to destroy you," Bobby Kotick said when talking to the flight attendant who had been sexually harassed that he later fired. Excellent. That's the person I want in charge of solving corporate culture at Activision Blizzard, right? That's the guy with the great track record of dealing with it, right? In 2008, a year later, they settled by paying the attendant $200,000. I mean, get this. The spokesman for Bobby Kotick said he couldn't have fired her for retaliation because she never complained to Bobby. She complained to Bobby's co-owner. Sure, like they absolutely never talked to each other, and Bobby Kotick would... what? That's not... What? How is that possibly logic? That's not even logic, never mind a defense. Okay, I'm a co-owner of Platchat. If someone complained to Bren and then I fired them from Platchat, I would expect to not be able to use the defense. Well, they didn't complain to me. Didn't complain to me. My hands are clean. What the fuck? That's not logical at all. Anyway, so in 2020, Bobby Kotick was aware of an email from 30 female employees who worked in the esports division, who wrote saying that they'd been subject to unwanted touching, demeaning comments, exclusion from important meetings, and unsolicited comments on their appearance, without really any remedy. The Activision spokesperson says, after meetings, the company took steps such as providing diversity and inclusion training to the esports leadership team. So just more and more and more stuff like that. What else? Was there anything more? This is talking about the Francis Townsend stuff and the letter that he penned, and Francis Townsend putting it on, like saying that it was with her name. So let's move on. A very important piece of journalism from Kirsten Grind, Ben Fritz, and Sarah Needleman on the Wall Street Journal about this, which is much more than just the headline, right? There's many more important things in there than just Bobby Kotick knew shit. So in response to this, a spokesperson from Activision Blizzard said the Wall Street Journal's report presented an inaccurate and misleading view of Activision Blizzard and the CEO. And they said that instances were acted upon and they've ignored the important changes, and we definitely are on our way to becoming the most welcoming and inclusive workplace in the world, including this zero tolerance policy for inappropriate conduct, which, like I said, was implemented about a month ago, I believe. And they're saying we won't stop, etc., etc. Then Bobby Kotick actually shared a video message with the company employees, and here was the transcript, right? So this is Bobby Kotick himself, November 16th, 2 days ago, saying this, where he says, I want to talk to you today about my conviction to create the most welcoming and inclusive workplace. It's sickening how often they use this exact same phrase with just no basis to it, just no basis. So, we've taken meaningful actions to improve our company and our culture. And I think to some extent, it's partially correct. There have been some things they've done that are meaningful, but there's so much more that people are asking for, and especially the demands from the Activision Blizzard King workers are asking for. And there is a lot more to do that they could have already done and have not done it. So the stuff that they've done so far does not indicate they're going far enough in the right direction. And there's so much to fix that people don't have faith that they're going to get there, which is why all of this talk feels so cheap. So there will, of course, be continued media attention about us and our industry. In fact, there's an article today that paints an inaccurate and misleading view of our company, of me personally, and my leadership. Jesus Christ. Okay, so the second thing I want to say, anyone who doubts my conviction to be the most welcoming, inclusive workplace, there's that buzz phrase again, doesn't really appreciate how important this is to me. What about the track record of how the company has responded to this and how Bobby Kotick himself has responded to this? What about that track record? What about the evidence indicates at all that he finds it important that his company is welcoming or inclusive? What possible evidence is there to believe his conviction? There's none. And people don't know Bobby Kotick. The people he's giving this conversation to, this video message, to the company's employees, they don't know Bobby personally. Bobby flies around in a fucking private helicopter, owning giga millions, giga unbelievable Scrooge McDuck money. He's not living in the real world. He's not a person that the company employees know and have worked with on an intimate basis and are like, yeah, I trust that guy. I've worked with him. He's in the clouds. So I found this to be incredible. And the end of this sentence, they don't really appreciate, anyone who doubts me doesn't really appreciate how important this is to me. I mean, the absolute unbelievable mega bag that you get from being a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, I'm sure. And the board of directors probably looks at Bobby Kotick and sees somebody that's led the company from a very, he literally bought it essentially out of bankruptcy, right? I think that was the beginning of Bobby Kotick owning Activision Blizzard with backing from other people. And he has built it into an incredibly successful, from a financial perspective, company. So the board of directors, if they didn't know that Bobby Kotick had hidden stuff from them, they're going to back him every fucking day because he makes them money, he makes them bank. But is he good to lead the company in a positive direction for the workers? There is no evidence to suggest that that is true. And with him hiding stuff from the board of directors, perhaps that starts to change the tone of the people who are making money from it as well. So anyway, as I've made clear, we're moving forward with a new zero tolerance policy for inappropriate behavior, and zero means zero. It's like an adult telling a child zero tolerance, or it's like your teacher at school telling you, oh well, yeah, we have zero tolerance for any fighting that goes or any bad behavior that goes on. And then the teacher gets caught doing something and they're like, well, no, obviously that doesn't apply to me because I'm the teacher. Or no, that doesn't apply to me because I'm the parent. Like, you're the one that needs schooling. You're the one that needs teaching how to be a better person. No, that's not true. The holding accountable and teaching how to be better people and forcing them to be better people, because otherwise your job is at risk, extends all the way up the company. From the evidence that we have, from the journalism and from the internal documents. Incredible. Anyway, so that was the response from Bobby Kotick. So moving on, the response from the workers after this, a better ABK are the people that I've been following. There might be multiple organizations, and I retweeted this as well because I think it's very important. And the better ABK, this ABK Workers Alliance. So it's Activision Blizzard King Workers Alliance. So it's a group of workers. And they've said, we're instituting our own zero tolerance policy. We will not be silenced until Bobby Kotick has been replaced as CEO, and continue to hold our original demand for third-party review by an employee-chosen source. So the third-party review, I believe, if I recall correctly, that Activision Blizzard implemented was from a law firm that was famous for union busting. And so obviously the wrong company to have involved in a third-party review of your of how your company works and how your company has dealt with these kind of things. So yeah, it does feel like that, doesn't it, Furious Yammer? Where it's like, okay, no, wait, the zero tolerance policy starts now. Oh, wait, one of our executives just got something leaked. Starts now. Wait, but no, it starts retroactively for all of you. It starts retroactively for all of the staff, but for our executives, it starts now. It's ridiculous. So they staged a walkout, which was 2 days ago as well. I think there was like 150 people involved in the walkout as well. This is, I think, the second walkout, but there might have been multiple. Activision Blizzard also had, this was from today, over 500 current Activision Blizzard employees and contractors signed a petition calling for the removal of Bobby Kotick as their CEO. And we're talking about people, I mean, I took a quick scroll through the list. There's names on there from Overwatch League. There's names on there, Overwatch 2, people who are involved in the making of Overwatch 2. There's people involved there from all across different areas of the Activision Blizzard space and the Blizzard space. So is everybody's name on there? No. But are there notable names from across a large area of places? Yes, absolutely. So there is an internal petition here as well. Now, they also tweeted out a change.org petition too, which was, what can you do to support ABK Workers Alliance, right? Because if I am a contractor for the company I'm a contractor for Overwatch League. I'm not directly working with Activision Blizzard. I don't work at the offices. I haven't seen any of this cultural stuff. I've been tangentially related on the very, very fringe of the outside of it. And I've still seen the company fuck up some harassment situations. So this was a change.org petition, which somebody was saying in the, no, I'm not a Blizzard employee, Alex Nats. I'm an independent contractor. So what was I going to say? Yeah, the change.org petition was their way of saying, hey, this is what you can do to support our cause as well. But they've also got an internal one, which has a large amount of names on it too. And this one, yeah, has like 2,000 signatures. But obviously the potential for this one to get much more signatures is much more, because this one is limited to the company, and this one is limited to anyone who's annoyed at, or not annoyed, anyone who's disgusted at what Activision Blizzard has been doing for years and covering up for years as well. So Jason Schreier, who's also been following this story too, tweeted out the response from the board of directors. Now, I potentially naively thought that Bobby Kotick withholding important information from the board of directors, if we find this in the article, where he didn't tell the board of directors about the rape allegations in 2016 and 2017, and the statement that the board of directors were blindsided by the California lawsuit allegations. I thought the fact that your CEO is withholding crucial information from the board about matters such as this would potentially result in the board of directors being soured towards Bobby Kotick. Maybe on a private level, they might be more so than previously, but on a public level, they are not. 2 days ago, so again, just in the wake of all of this, a very quick, immediate response, the board of directors released the following statement saying, the Activision Blizzard board remains committed, and by the way, these are about the only people that actually can oust Bobby Kotick. As far as I'm aware, could be wrong about this because I don't exactly know how big corporations like this work, but I think it's essentially only Bobby Kotick himself stepping down, or the board of directors can remove him. As far as I'm aware, there isn't like another system where you don't like vote out the CEO or anything like that. It's the board of directors and the CEO themselves that has the power to make that kind of move. So here, the Activision Blizzard board remains committed to the goal of making Activision Blizzard the most welcoming and inclusive company in the industry. Thank you. Had to get that one in there, didn't we? Right, now we're done with the bullshit. Let's go on to what you actually think. Well, no, we're not what you actually think, but something that's unique this time. I swear, if you put them through a fucking, what's it called, R9K filter, everything that Activision Blizzard said would just be not allowed in the chat. They wouldn't be allowed to comment in Twitch chat because they'd just get done for the fucking welcoming and inclusive company thing. Under Bobby Kotick's leadership, the company is already implementing industry-leading changes, including a zero-tolerance harassment policy. Now, okay, they have said they're implementing a zero-tolerance harassment policy. Is it effective if it doesn't apply up the chain? No. And could you call what Activision Blizzard has done industry-leading in terms of changes? Perhaps the Delta might be industry-leading because they were so fucked up to begin with, but that seems like unbelievable language to me. A dedication to achieving significant increases to the percentages of women and non-binary people in our workforce, and significant internal and external investments to accelerate opportunities for diverse talent. The board remains confident that Bobby Kotick appropriately addressed workplace issues brought to his attention. That sentence to me is the one that I am most surprised to see written out. Because the board might still back Bobby Kotick for other reasons, but to very specifically say that despite keeping the board allegedly in the dark on multiple cases, the board has maintained their confidence that he appropriately addressed workplace issues that were brought to his attention. That is a big old X to doubt. And even if you look back at the stuff that's written in this article about the stuff that happened in like 2006, 2007, this kind of stuff, that I mean, one of the paragraphs that I missed out again here is relevant again. Mr. Kotick himself has been accused by several women of mistreatment, both inside and outside the workplace, and in some instances has worked to settle the complaints quickly and quietly. So these are some examples of that, right? These are some of the examples of what they're talking about in this paragraph. But the idea that the board is still confident in him is concerning, because it feels pretty damning from the outside when you read that report. The goals we've set for ourselves are both critical and ambitious. The board remains confident in Bobby Kotick's leadership, commitment, and ability to achieve these goals. And, you know, Bobby actually has taken the company and made it a fucking money machine. And I don't necessarily mean that in the bad way of like just pumping out titles and crunching people and stuff. Sure, that's involved in it, but he is effective, or has been effective from the board of directors' perspective, at making the company financially successful. So when you're trying to balance your greed with your requirement to have a workplace where your employees aren't quitting constantly and getting harassed constantly and having that suffer as a result, and maybe your stock dropping massively because there's constant scandals going on, you know, there's if greed and financial stuff is the only thing motivating you to make a decision like this, perhaps there needs to be more before they lose that confidence. And yeah, so what else? So there was also a group of shareholders that called for Bobby Kotick's resignation as well. In addition to that, called for the board's 2 longest-serving directors to retire too.
In retrospect, this is a weird time to show you a cat video, isn't it?
A cat video?
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit serious for a cat video,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll watch a cat video later,
yeah,
though.
I'll just save it. I didn't realize what you were doing up here. I thought you were playing Valorant.
No, not playing Valorant. Not at the moment, anyway.
If Zen wasn't supposed to
So,
they would have given him footsteps.
yeah, and specifically, in contrast to past company statements, Bobby Kotick was aware of many incidents of sexual harassment. So when you think about the board making this comment that he appropriately addressed workplace issues brought to his attention, as far as the board is aware, they didn't even know that Bobby Kotick was aware of these issues. Then Bobby Kotick said he wasn't aware of a lot of these issues. And now the board finds out, oh shit, there was a lot of stuff going on that we weren't aware of, that he didn't tell us, and he lied about being aware of it. That's why it's incredible that the board is still just fucking along for the ride. So, and yeah, so this is, again, the shareholders being in contrast to the board of directors here. Bobby Kotick failed either to ensure that the executives and managers responsible were terminated. Remember specifically the Treyarch head, which Bobby Kotick kept despite HR saying he should be fired. In what world is that appropriately addressing workplace issues brought to his attention? He intervened on behalf of the harasser, of the assaulter, in order to keep them at the company, and failed to address the systemic nature of the company's hostile workplace culture. So the shareholders are on the opposite side of things to the public position of the board of directors right now. So it's clear the current leadership repeatedly failed to uphold a safe workplace, a basic function of their job. Activision Blizzard needs a new CEO, board chair, and lead independent director with the expertise, skill set, and conviction to truly change the company's culture. We need to really have a reset button on the board. And I agree. I mean, I absolutely agree. And again, I just keep thinking about Jen O'Neill being put in the position of co-head of Blizzard and just taking a quick glance around for a month and realizing this shit's fucked. I can't do anything even from this position, which I think is going to be meaningful, because it's just screwed all the way to the top. So then, there was So I have already talked about this one where they said they didn't have evidence of Kotick's harassment, which is why the zero tolerance policy doesn't apply to Bobby Kotick. Bullshit. It's just because he's too high up. And then Xbox and Microsoft. This is the kind of, by the way, this is important because this is the kind of outside corporate pressure that could be put on the board of directors in order to make change. Because then you're tapping into their greed meter, right? If we're talking about things being motivated by greed, and Bobby Kotick is good for that, he's good for the green. If Xbox and PlayStation, who are major partners, when you're talking about like Activision pumping out like Call of Duty games every year and just printing $1 billion year on year on year, if PlayStation and Xbox are pissed off at you and do anything to alter that working relationship you have and make it more difficult for you to be able to get your games into people's hands and on the consoles, then maybe that's enough of a lever, to a fulcrum to make something happen. So these kind of things are absolutely welcomed from as far as I'm concerned. So this was Microsoft's head of Xbox evaluating all aspects of our relationship with Blizzard and making ongoing proactive adjustments. Now, how much of this is PR stuff and how much of it is going to actually result in anything? It's difficult to know because a lot of the time, the correct thing to do via PR is also the correct thing to do if you just want to do something positive, which is why PR is good PR. You know what I mean? Like, the whole reason that people say things they do for PR reasons is because they think they're going to get a positive response. But people often give you a positive response for doing the right thing as well. So it's difficult to tell how much of it's simply PR. But at this point, simply speaking about it at all rather than burying your head in the sand seems like a good sign. So in an email to staff seen by Bloomberg News, Phil Spencer said he and the gaming leadership team are disturbed and deeply troubled by the horrific events and actions at Activision Blizzard. That's fairly strong language, actually. Disturbed, deeply troubled, horrific events and actions. That's pretty strong language for a like somebody that's got a pretty intimate and symbiotic relationship with Activision Blizzard. This type of behavior has no place in our industry. And on Wednesday, PlayStation chief Jim Ryan sent a similar note to staff, writing that they and the leadership were disheartened and frankly stunned to read that they haven't done enough, that Activision haven't done enough to address a deep-seated culture of discrimination and harassment. So, but Spencer went a step further in saying that he would take action. Whereas the PlayStation, Jim Ryan said that they were disheartened and stunned to read about it, Spencer's talking about action. And yeah, this is the way in which some level of change can happen from the outside. What kind of action? I believe what he's talking about is this. I think this is the action that's being talked about. Evaluating the relationship and making proactive adjustments. Because you've got to remember that this came out. This is Phil Spencer talking about it, 2 days after the Bobby Kotick news. So it's not like Phil Spencer has gotten together with everyone at Xbox and they've already come up with a plan. The companies don't move that quickly. So even if Phil Spencer and Xbox themselves had some very strict plan that they wanted to enact, it's unlikely they would have it available to release and would release it immediately 2 days afterwards. So when you're looking for action from big companies, most of the time you're looking for them saying they will do something, or they're reviewing what the correct action would be, and then you have to wait some time for actual action to come. And so you're like, okay, well, it's good that they're planning to do some action, but we have to wait to see what action it actually ends up being, right? So, yeah. All in all, though, not looking any better. Not looking any better at all for Activision Blizzard. In fact, looking a lot worse. And I thought it was likely that Bobby Kotick would feel some pressure at least to step down, or have some people at the top who caught the bullet when this first rolled around in the summer. And if nobody from the board of directors or Bobby Kotick himself ends up being removed as a result of this, and the SEC investigation and the California investigation both just quietly disappear, I would be stunned and incredibly disappointed.